I'm Russell Carpenter, technician and long-time volunteer at KABF. I want you to meet Alice. Who is she? You and me. Alice stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employee. Alice's working families face high housing costs, but within more month than money. We're the majority of our Kansans. We need programs that work for us as hard as we work for our state and families. Hey, policymakers and politicians, it's time to meet Alice. Who is Alice? All of us.
Huh. How you doing this morning? Keep up.
How about you?
I'm doing good. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, you heard the music. You left at 9 o'clock, so you know what time it is. It's time for the workplace here on KABF 88.3 FM, Voice of the People Community Radio. Hey, it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Thursday morning here on the corner of 21st and Main Street. I hope wherever you are this morning, I hope your day is starting off just as beautiful. So, got a lot of stuff to talk about today, one thing in particular, but I am so grateful that you had tuned in to KABF this morning to the workplace. We are just so grateful here at the station. We're still getting pledged. It just warms my heart to see that people are still giving, people are still pledging. I checked PayPal this morning. It's still, people are still going online and donating, so I just really appreciate your effort. I really appreciate the love that you're showing to KABF. Coming up on 40 years being a beacon of information and voice here in Little Rock and across the world through our streaming services. I'm your host for the workplace, Toney Orr, and I just want to give a quick shout out to opportunity to my fierce, vivacious co-host who has this bright orange dress on, liven up the place. Then that smile that she has is just bringing energy.
In my orange shoes.
Oh, she got the orange shoes on too. She down. She got it going on today. The Reverend Dr. Denise. Donnell.
Grand Rising Humans. I shouldn't have said shoes. I should have said combat boots because that's what they are. I'm so glad to be here this morning for this conversation. Thank you so much, Tony, for inviting me to be your co-host. I don't think I've said that ever. Really? Definitely not in a while. So I appreciate being here with you.
Yeah.
And the listeners, of course.
Yeah, I guess we so busy going at each other.
Yeah, it's not something I would normally think about. Just keep it real.
Yeah, you know, you said you're appreciative of me inviting you. I'm thinking, if you knew now, then when I invited you,
If you knew, would you have even invited me?
heck no. Let's be real. Heck no. You know, that's one resume I would just push to the side. You know, but in all fairness, it has been. It's a great journey. I think we both keep each other engaged in with our listening audience and the topics that we talk about. So I really appreciate it. Do you have any announcements this morning?
I do have some announcements. Want to let you know that you're invited to join us for the grand opening of the Grind Coffee Bistro at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, June 4th. That's next Tuesday coming up, 1523 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Little Rock. It is going, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be in the same place where we have a home vegan restaurant. So Remix Ideas, this was with Benito Lubazibwa. He is really doing the thing, making sure that Black-owned businesses are getting their just due and being able to thrive. So again, that grand opening for the Grind Coffee Bistro is happening next Tuesday at 10 o'clock a.m. I also want you to know that Osiris Bali is at it again with the Sound Garden Open Mic Series. Happens on June 1st. That seems to be this weekend, and it seems like that's Saturday maybe, from 7 to 10 p.m. Calling all poets, musicians, singers, rappers, lyricists, and creative performers. Come out and join us at the Sound Garden. It's right here on Markham. It's beside the Oyster Bar. I'm gonna see if I can write a little something. Every time I go, I get on the mic. This will be my third time. Let me see if I can write a little something. Y'all come out and join us for a good time. Also, we have Dominoes in the Park happening on tomorrow at 5 o'clock right here at Petaway Park, as long as the weather permits. 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We usually stay until we can't see anymore. We will have Dominoes, but I'm also going to bring some cards, some Uno, just in case somebody wants to do a little something else when you come out. Or you can come out and be like Phyllis. Just come and sit and talk.
Yes.
and have conversation. That would be great too. And do want to let you know that for Community Voices, there is another lineup on next month, the Jubilant June. We will have a different community voice every single Tuesday. So we'll be excited to have you join us on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. for Community Voices.
Okay, and so I have a few announcements I want to get out of the way. Join the Little Rock NAACP and the Mu Beta Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity for an end of school community block party. It's going to be free food, music, and games, and it's actually block party and bash. This is going to be June 1st, this Saturday, 2024, from 2 to 7 p.m. That's 2 to 7 p.m. at 1510 Martin Luther King Drive in Little Rock, Arkansas. That's 1510 Martin Luther King Drive in Little Rock, Arkansas. They're also going to have drive-through petition signings and voter registration. For more information, go to www.lrnaacp.org. That's Little Rock, LRNAACP.org.
I do have a couple of more announcements, Tony. Let me get mine in before you go to the next one, and then while I'm finding my next one, you can go. So, want to remind you that also on Saturday, there's voters registration sign up, reinstatement of rights for formerly incarcerated people, free reentry service resources, all 6 ballot initiatives available to sign, keynote speakers, live music, games and activities for children, free food provided by Afro Bites. This is for the Vote Empowerment event, 1702 Wright Avenue, and the keynote speakers are Ruby Welch, Dwight Pridgeon, and Kaleem Nazim. You can do that from 12 to 6. That's happening. And June 1st is this Saturday. So you got that going on. It'll lead you all the way up to 7 o'clock when you come out for open mic night. We've got a lot going on this Saturday.
Okay. That's great because you can go to that event, stop by the NAACP Phi Beta Sigma fraternity block party and bash, and right before around 6:30, you can leave that and get over to Osiris's event. So you can have a full
Don't
day.
say you don't have anything going on this weekend.
Yeah. Don't say you bored. I ain't got nothing to do. Oh yeah, you do. You just got to get up and go. So the 2024 Six Bridges Book Festival, the Central Arkansas Library System, CALS, is excited to announce that the 2024 Six Bridges Book Festival will be held September 23rd through the 29th, 2024. This year's festival chairman is Senator Joyce Elliott, a CALS board member and former high school English teacher. The event will feature award-winning, best-selling, and emerging authors in virtual and in-person sessions and special events. Music festival events will be free and open to the public. Most festival events will be held at CALS Library Square in downtown Little Rock. Authors will continue to be announced throughout the summer. For more information, go to www.cals.org. That's www.cals.org.
Yeah, I heard it too. Something went out. Seems like. New Millennium Church, which is led by Reverend Judge Griffin, Wendell Griffin, presents Women in Ministry, Just a Sister Away, Accomplishments, Challenges, and Goals, a Conversation and Call to Action. That's happening on this Saturday, June 1st, 2024, from 2 to 4 p.m. It's going to be moderated by, I think that is Reverend Teresa Smallwood the moderator? I think so. But on the panel, you have Pastor Deborah Bell, Reverend Dr. Odessa Darrow, Reverend Anika Whitfield, and Senior Pastor Danita Waller-Page. Where is this happening? In the Elders Room at the Kendall Center on the campus of Philander Smith University, 900 West Daisy Bates Drive, right here in Little Rock, Arkansas. And then on Sunday at 9 a.m., the 15th anniversary celebration with the guest speaker, Reverend Teresa Smallwood, Reverend Dr. Teresa Smallwood with Reverend Wendell Griffin, that is happening at that church on 221 Lake Shore Drive. So Reverend Teresa Smallwood, we're trying to get her on the show this Saturday as well for the Beauty and Barbershop. And so join us for that session, that show on Saturday at 9 a.m. right here, KABF 88.3 FM.
Okay, and my last announcement, get ready for the Adventure of the Year. The North Little Rock Public Library System invites you to the Library Adventures Kickoff at Argenta Plaza on Saturday, June 8th. This incredible family event will feature games, dance, and musical performances, giveaways, food trucks, animal ambassadors, and more. Plus, we'll show you how you can enjoy fantastic free events throughout the summer that are designed to keep your kids reading and learning. You can even get a tote bag, water bottle, and a venture map if you want the first to sign up. But remember, supplies are limited. The fun place to be is the Library Adventure Kickoff at Argenta Plaza on Saturday, June 8th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Find out more at nirlibrary.org. That's NLR, I said NLR, North Little Rock Library, LIBRARY.org. So as they say in the church, those are your announcements. Govern yourself accordingly. And so today I want to talk about something that happened this week, but it's something that has been going on over several years now. So let me back up, going back a couple of years. College athletes have been trying to unionize for a few years now. And so the Dartmouth University in Hanover, New Jersey, their basketball team decided that they voted to unionize, and the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, recognized them as a union and said, yes, they can union. They can unionize. The important piece of this is that the school, Dartmouth University, said, no, they can't unionize, and we can't enter collective bargaining because they are not paid employees. They are not employees of the school. Well, Dartmouth is one of those universities, all the Ivy League conference schools, Dartmouth, Brown, Princeton, Yale, Columbia, those colleges, they do not offer athletic scholarships to the players. So because they don't offer athletic scholarships, it opens the door where these players can actually unionize. And what has helped this week, the NCAA and conferences came together on a $2.8 billion settlement. $2.8 billion settlement. Also, it goes along with what Congress, the U.S. Congress, defined going on, and it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court sent it back to Congress, and they both decided that players, athletes, can be paid directly from schools to compensate them for the money that is being generated by these schools. And so you ask, well, why is this important? This $2.8 billion is for future, and it's going to be paid out over 10 years. It's for future and past athletes. So you go back to, it's going back to 2016, that if you were a college athlete in 2016, whether you were on scholarship or not, there is compensation for you because of the money that was made off of you. And it goes back to when Charles O'Bannon, who was a basketball player at UCLA, sued the NCAA for the simple fact that these video games, these athletic departments were making millions and millions and millions of dollars off of his likeness, off the likeness of athletes. And so it went to court. Supreme Court said, yes, they have the right to be paid for not only using their likeness, but using their services, which opened the door for what they have now called NIL, name, image, and likeness, that now college players are being paid. And now it used to, the way it was set up until this recent ruling, is that it came out of boosters' pockets, or they would set up a separate fund within the college or the university to be paid out to these athletes. Now it's requiring these colleges to pay these players directly. And the reason this is so important, going back to what I said a second ago, if you played any sport in college, going back to 2016, any sport that is under the umbrella of the athletic department of that university, then there is compensation for you out there. If you have, and during this graduation season, there are a lot of athletes that are now getting ready to go to college on athletic scholarships. They can get paid. They can get paid. And they can sit back and negotiate how much they want to be paid. And so as parents, you want to make sure that your son, your daughter, however, that's going to college and they're going to athletic scholarship, or even if they're going to be a walk-on, if they're going to be a part of this athletic team, wherever, they can get paid. Now, I want you, and a lot of people don't understand this, I'm going to take a moment to explain this to you. So it does not matter what tier of college you go to, athletics you go to. So within the college athletic scene, there's the Division I, there's Division II, there's Division III, and then there's NAIA. Those are the different tiers of athletics based on the college or based on the university you go to. Division I is the highest. NAIA is what they might consider the lowest. But they all, because of this ruling, I don't care if you went to UAPB, Southern Arkansas, where Philander Smith University, Arkansas Baptist College, as long as you are in an athletic department, athletic team, you have the right to be paid directly money to your pocket, in your pocket, for this service that you provide for the university called sports. And another reason why this is so important, for so many years when they would talk about corruption in college sports, because they were saying that athletes were student athletes and they were not supposed to receive any type of benefit that a normal college student would receive, which was false, because if you were an engineering major on an academic scholarship, you can go out and you could do advertising, you can go get paid. Somebody could walk up to you and give you money and nothing would be said. But because you are an athlete, if you are restricted to get money anywhere else other than from your scholarship. And they said because you were receiving a free scholarship, that was their idea. You were receiving a free scholarship, you were receiving free room and board tuition, that should be enough. Well, it really wasn't free, because you have to provide a service. You have to go out, you have to practice, you have to play, you have to perform. So it's really not like you're providing service, and you should get paid. In every other area of business, you pay the people who do the service. And so that's why this new rule has opened the door. And basically, when you start talking about the amount of money being made, the NCAA and these conferences are getting ready to redo their television deals. ESPN is reportedly paying $20 billion over the next 6 years for the football contract. They're paying another $15 billion for the basketball contract. CBS, NBC, ABC, True TV, TNT, all of these networks are going to contribute, are going to pay almost close to, I think they were saying it's going to be almost $100 billion for all these television, for the rights to show these games over all these sports. And it used to be that the athletes would get none of it. But now, that's a lot of money that they are making off the athletes, and it's an opportunity for them to reap some of the benefits of the service they're getting. And so this is going to change the landscape of college athletics, but also it's going to change the landscape of high school athletics too, because states now are trickling it down. They're saying that, hey, if you have a school, and let's say Cabot or Little Rock Southwest. I use Little Rock Southwest, where a lot of athletes come out of these schools going into college. Well, now states are making laws that, it's going to trickle down, so that, like, if you are a star athlete in high school, this NIL money can actually go down to you also, that you can receive some of this money. If a business wants to sponsor you, if a business wants you to do a commercial for them, if a business wants you to come and stand in front of their business because you are a star quarterback, a basketball player, there's money that you can receive where it used to be you couldn't get it. So it's changing the landscape of things. Like I said, what I want to know is, how do you feel about it? How do our listening audience feel about it? Do you think, because one of the things they said, well, we want to keep athletes, student athletes. We don't want to take the student out of athlete. They're there to go to college. They're there to get an education, and why should they be paid? Or do you believe that, hey, they working hard, and they should, they're making money for everybody else. Why can't they make money for themselves? So that's the question I'm asking this morning. How do you feel about it?
I've got several thoughts about this, but the first thing I think I want to start with is that I feel like this is it's a continued attack against is intellectualism, because it reminds me of being a public school teacher. I remember when I was teaching sixth graders, and I teach language arts and English. And so because we have this practice, some of us we used to have this practice. I don't know if people used to do this, still do this, but sometimes we would treat reading and writing as punishment for children. When I was in school, I was talking all the time, and I would get in trouble, and I would have to write lines. I will not talk in class. I will not talk in class. And so writing was a punishment. And so because of that, some students looked at it that way. If I have to write a lot, if I have to read a lot, I hate doing it. And so it's very difficult for me to engage them just right off the bat with English and language arts because of this mindset, this conditioning. So it took a lot to undo that. And then I had to also fight against this. Well, this is not gonna make me no money, right? Learning language arts, learning math, this is not, I need to be on the basketball court. Like, that's what's gonna make me the money. Like, so I'm not concerned about my lesson. I'm not concerned about my homework. I'm not concerned about any of that, because I don't need to develop my mind. I need to develop this skill that they are gonna make money off of, that I can hopefully make money off of. And for the children I was working with, it was their escape from poverty, right? So when you do this and you say, well, now look, y'all can get paid, it continues to shift us away from the development of the mind, which is where I know we should spend more time, rather than saying we want to develop athletic ability. That's just one thing I want to say.
Yeah, and I can agree with that point. I knew a lot of individuals who were great talents on the court, on the football field, on the baseball field, and they could not even, write a legible sentence. One of the great examples is a football player named Dexter Manley. He went 4 years of college, played for the Washington Redskins, then, well, the Washington Commanders now, but then it was the Washington Redskins. And he was making millions of dollars. He was a great defensive end in the NFL, and they did a documentary on him. And he said he could not read and write. 12 years of school, 4 years of college, and he could not read and write. And what got him through was that, like you said, because he had this talent, that he used, and they said, well, we could just push him on because, he is this talented athlete. But what if he would have got hurt? What if something would have happened? Now, where is it going to end up at?
I wish I was awake when I was a public school teacher, but I was not. I was so far away from systems of oppression and all of that, because I would have lost my job. Because one of the students, because I was teaching ninth grade English in Yazoo City High School in Yazoo City, Mississippi. And one of my students failed English class, but he was a star athlete. He failed the class. And I used to tell all of my students, you walk in this door with 100. The only way you will fail is if you fail yourself. I'm not going to fail you. You're going to fail yourself. So he failed the class. And they said to me that I would lose my job if I did not reverse the grade, because they needed him to play, and that he couldn't play. They had a rule: you couldn't play if you had a certain grade point average. And so now the Denise now would have lost her job, but the Denise then was like, oh Lord, let me reverse this decision. But that is what we do. We put so much emphasis on athletics that we do not worry about. We do not develop the mind in the way that we should. So here's Phyllis Brown. John Calipari, the University of Arkansas men's basketball coach, did I say that right? Has a 5-year contract that pays him a base salary of $7 million per year, plus incentives. The athletes or the star players should be financially compensated. This country values sports rather than education. And then Deidre Levi, college coaches have been making millions off of students the whole time. So being a student athlete was equivalent to being a slut. Well, this is what I want to know, though. This is another point. Well, first, let me make this point. So yes, Tony, I hear you telling us about this wonderful decision that has been made about them being able to unionize, and that it's going to trickle down. And so I think that a lot of people already are getting excited. Or they already thinking about how they're going to develop their talent. They already got sports on their minds. But Dartmouth is going to appeal this decision.
They did.
Okay, and so that means that it could take a long time, because it might go all the way to the Supreme Court.
It is going to go to
so
the
those
Supreme
of you who are listening to us right now, don't think you getting ready to go get paid right now.
Go ahead.
No, I must have said it wrong.
Yes. So there's two parts to this. The money to be paid out is already set. That settlement is already done. So that money is available now to be paid out. That was from
to any student who's been
any student.
In any school since 2016.
No, they're going back to 2016 is because the two players, there was a swimmer and a football player who said that when they came out with the NIL a few years ago, they said they missed out on that, but they were still, their likeness and image was still being used. So when they came up with the settlement, they said, we'll go back to 2016 because that's when these athletes, those two athletes were in college.
But just for those athletes?
No, that's for any athlete.
From 2016 to now, $2.8 billion doesn't seem to be enough. You saying any athlete from 2016
From
at
2016,
any school,
from 2016
to now,
into the future.
And so $2.8 billion.
And they're going to keep adding to it. They don't
sound right to me, but I just wanted to make sure that we know that this is there's still a process to this whole thing. But you know what? When I was in college, I was in the choir, and we had to practice. Like, we were practicing, like, I don't know, it was like a part-time job. We were practicing 16 to 20 hours a week, practicing with our art, with our talent, which was our voices, right? We were touring all over the United States. We were bringing in money. We were bringing in acknowledgement. We were bringing, what you call attention to the school. We were doing all of that, but nobody's talking about paying us, right? And I was a professional model when I was in college. Nobody's talking about paying us. So these different kinds of talents that we have, this is what so Phyllis Brown talks about, how we value sports over anything else, not just education, but over anything else, because I feel like my talent, my gift with my voice is just as important as somebody's talent on the basketball team or the swim team or wherever they perform.
And I agree with you. The difference is when you were in college, you were singing in the choir, if you wanted to go and sing at a nightclub and make money off your voice, you could. Even if you wanted to have a concert on college that you could charge admission for people to come look at you and hear you, you could. There were avenues for other students to make money off the talent that they had. They could go be an intern. They could go and work in other places and still go to school and get paid. Athletes were restricted. They could not receive any type of extra money. If you say an athlete, you say their parent, their mother died, and there was many cases like this. Their mother died, they didn't have money to go home for a funeral. So either the coaches would give them money, a friend would give them money, one of the boosters would give them money, and that was the NCAA violation. They made it to where you could not get money from any other source other than that athletic scholarship, because they looked at it is that it offered an advantage to the athlete that the regular student did not get. And everybody was like, huh? So any other student who's on an academic scholarship could go make money, but an athlete can't.
So this is back to Deidre's point. All right, so being a student athlete was the equivalent to being a slave. And when I think about this, I think about this all the time. I don't know why I only think about it with football, but I think about it all the time with football when they start talking about the drafts. Because the drafts to me is like when my ancestors were enslaved and they would have to go up on the auction block, and based on their bodies, based on what they believe, how they believe they could produce, whether or not they thought that the women were going to be good breeders, and they would decide how much they were worth, and then they auction them off, and then they would put them on the plantation. So I'm like, that's what football reminds me of. Like when the draft is like, let me see which one of these books is gonna make the most money for us. Let me see, and then I'm gonna bid on them, and I'm gonna pay for them, and I'm gonna do all this, and then I'm on this field. They're working on this field, which is the football field, which sounds like a plantation. So what is the difference between that system and the system of enslavement?
Now, I will agree with you. Athletics, I will agree that it's just another form of the plantation system. It's another form of slavery, period. If there was a difference, is now where a slave didn't have the ability to negotiate how much money to be paid, negotiate what my benefits are, is now you can. So as an athlete, when you get drafted or you go to these teams, you have choices. You can say, if you say, well, I want to get paid $10 million a year, and they say, we're not paying you $10 million a year, bye.
Well, there's some people who are not going to get that much money, right? So you're still going to develop this caste system within the system of athletics, because there are some players that are going to be able to negotiate for 10 million, where other players may not even be able to negotiate for 100,000, right? So now there's about to be this even more competition amongst the players to see who can make the most money.
Yeah, and there's there's another great documentary by ESPN called. I think it was called Money, and one of the players, there were several athletes who said that in a locker room, or whatever major sport you're playing, in the locker room, you didn't have a lot of what you would call, millionaires, and he was talking about football. He said in a football locker room, there's 53 players. He said, you didn't have 53 millionaires. You didn't have everybody was a millionaire. He said what you had was a lot of thousandaires. So based on your talent, based on your position, you might make, a quarterback might make $10 million a year. But if you're just a punter or a kicker, you might make $1 million a year. And so yes, and even in this money being paid out to college athletes, we already know, and because of the system of bias towards women, bias towards certain sports, we know your football players and your basketball players are going to probably make the most money. They're going to get paid the most money. Your lacrosse team, your tennis team, they're probably not going to make. They're not going to make as much as these other sports, and so you're gonna have that. Another thing that's going to be,
and then you think about basketball and football; those two sports. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. Are predominantly dominated by Black folks. Would you say most of the players are Black?
Yes.
Most football players are Black, most basketball players are Black. So when you think about this, going back to what I said earlier about how this is an attack on intellectualism, when you already are not developing the mind educationally, academically, you're also not developing the mind fiscally. So these players who will be able to negotiate $10 million or whatever it is, they do not have they don't have a sound mind around finances. They definitely not teaching that in school. And so that means that you're going to lure these people into these positions where they're going to make all this money, but you're already setting them up to fail because they don't know how to manage it, especially if you're pulling student athletes from poverty. Again, many of the students that I taught, what they wanted most of all really was not to be a basketball star or football star. They wanted to escape poverty. And so then you give them the money, want to buy everybody a house, they want to give the car. And so before you know it, 2 years, 5 years, they have no money at all. And so the people are still making money off of them, but they know how to invest. They know how to make their money grow and work for them. And so we have to think about how pervasive this system of capitalism is, even though, yes, I agree that the athletes should be paid. I'm not going to argue that point, but we need to also be thinking about what else do these athletes need to know when they go into this system that will eat them alive.
Yeah, and that's that's something that's starting to happen, because going back to this documentary I was talking about,
Is it 30 for 30?
Yeah, it's a 30-30. It's a 30 for 30 documentary.
That's the name of it. Is that the name of it?
No. 30 for 30 is just the title of the documentaries that they produce.
Is it broke?
Yes, broke. Yeah, thank you, Denise. And part of it, there's, and this was done some years ago. I think broke is at least 5 or 6 years old when it was first done, and it's gotten a little better. But they were talking about how athletes, the minute they finish playing sports, or even before they end that, their career ends, they're broke. And that's why you see a lot of athletes, especially Black athletes, still professional athletes, still hanging on. Skills has diminished, but they hanging on because they need their paycheck. And they talked about somebody that grew up in my neighborhood in Chicago. I did not know him personally, but I knew him from the neighborhood. His name was Antoine Walker. He played for the University of Kentucky. He went on and played in the NBA for like 12 years. He made an estimated $90 million playing basketball, and he was broke. He was, and it was so amazing as they were talking to him, going back to what you were saying, Denise, when he would go out, he had all these friends that grew up with him. He had all these relatives, that surrounded him now because he's making his money. And so he would help them out. He talked about that when he would go out to eat, he would have 20 friends with him. Now, he got to provide transportation for all 20 friends. He has to pay for the food for all 20 friends. If they went to a club, he got to pick up the tab for all 20 friends. If they went on a trip, he has to pick up the tab for all 20 friends.
Well, he chose to.
Yeah. And he said he felt like he owed them, because the one thing, and I remember LeBron James saying this, him and 2 Chainz, they were in LeBron's series, the Barbershop, they were talking about this. And LeBron was talking about how he had bought his mother a mansion. And one day she said, I don't like this mansion anymore. I want one built. And LeBron was like, I know this is my mother, but I set her up. She set up for life. I made sure that she got access to funds and different things. And he said, but when she came and said, I want you to build me another mansion, he said it was one of the hardest decisions he had to do. He said, no, because he said that if you're not careful, your family and friends will drain you. He said he had 2 Chainz said, once he hit it, he had a aunt who came to him and said, hey, remember, when I took care of you? And, he said, I slept on your couch for one night, and now I owe you millions of dollars, and so you have to be careful. You're right. Nobody's teaching, the financial responsibility. And we're not teaching you, that this is not going to last. The average age of retirement in sports, the average across the sports, is 35 years of age.
Yeah, and then you're also not teaching, like, one of the things that my mother and I talk about a lot is because she just cannot understand my life, because my brothers, we were kind of conditioned to go the route where you get a job and you stay on that job for 30 years and you retire, and you do that kind of thing. And so now we need to be thinking about our lives seasonally. Like that, you may have been an athlete for a season, but when that season is over, what are you going to do next? And a lot of times I don't think we're thinking about that. Some of us think we're going to just stay here until we die, and then that's all we're going to do. But in a world that we're living in, where they're attacking your retirement and your pension money, like, what are you going to do when it gets to that next season? Because you need to be thinking about the next season. So a lot of these athletes, now it's different, but a lot of the athletes, that's all they could do is play ball. That's all they knew how to do. You can't do nothing else. So when that season is over, what is your life?
And so you're starting to see a trend going back to there were some athletes across the board who, when they started playing professional sports, they said in 10 years I'm out. If I can make it to 10 years, and most of them now would be like, I have a rookie deal for 3 or 4 years, maybe 5. I get my second contract. At the end of my second contract, I'm through. You know, so you're talking about people, individuals who are retiring around, you know, you say you come in, you start playing about 20, you said 21. So at 31, they're through because they said, hey, I got a family, I want to have a family, I don't want my body wrecked, I want, you know. But what they did, you know, if they didn't graduate before they went into professional sports, they made sure that every offseason they went back and got their degree. They made sure that they made connections. They made sure that they networked so that now I have something to lean on that's going to last me more. He said, you know, the professional sports got me, if my idea was to get out of poverty, okay, so it got me out of poverty. You know, now it sets me up to where I can have something not only for me, but for my family. And one of the things that is happening with this new NIL deal, the number one pick this year in the NFL draft was a quarterback named Caleb Williams. He went to Chicago Bears. Excuse me. Last year, I can't remember the number one draft pick in the NBA, but because of the NIL, and people were like telling them they need to come out a year earlier. Caleb Williams said this, and this goes back to your question, to your comment. Deidre, who talked about John Calipari.
That was
Phillips. So it used to be these coaches made all this money, but now, because of the way this is set up, Caleb Williams, when they asked him, why did you come out the year before where you would have been a number one draft pick? He said, I was making $15 million in college off of name, image, and likeness. I know I wasn't going to make that type of money coming into the NFL. Yeah, and now it used to be college coaches made the most money, but now athletes are making more money than these coaches because they're recognizing that coach can't have a job and make the money he makes without those athletes making, doing what they're doing on the court, on the field. Call you on there.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning, Ezekiel.
Hey.
So on the way up, listen to the grade. I want to know, you were mentioning this, the new rules and laws that is the NC2A that posed are those things. Was there anything said about literacy? You know, for many years, athletes who on scholarship had folks to take different tests for them. Their literacy was, you might say, a flaw. It's a fact that what is the first flaw? You know, there were many folks who went to college on athletic scholarship who actually had someone at the school to take the test for them. Was that ever addressed? Because literacy wasn't a requirement for many athletes. It's something now that they test. You had those who had athletic scholarships who actually had academic scholarships. But for the most part, the athletes, football players, basketball players, were not those folks who had good literacy skills, if you will, in an academic setting. Did they say anything about that? Because many of those athletes who went on to professional careers were taking advantage of those guys in Howard himself as an attorney, as a sportscaster. He used to refer to them as bargain-basement athletes. You know, they were gotten for little nothing, getting little nothing because they want the literacy rate wasn't as up to date as many of them. Even had one athlete, or the fifth one, he graduated from the University of Mars. So, it's something that should be taken a look at, you know what I mean? Was there anything to say about that?
Well, yes, and this happened about 20 years ago because of individuals like Otis Sistrunk, Dexter Manley, and so many other athletes who they were making money, but they were illiterate. The NCAA, in fact, Congress stepped in and said, hey, something has to be done about this. And so the NCAA instituted rules, and I think it's, I forget the acronym for academic achievement. So you have to, these universities have to have a certain rating. You have to have at least 75% of your athletes. You have to have an average of 75% of your athletes who graduate. And then they instituted, they made that you have to make available tutoring, you have to make available extra resources, you have to make available those things that will help an athlete, just like any other student, graduate or get the necessary needs or the necessary resources they need to graduate. And you find that there are so many players now across the board that actually graduating within 3 years, instead of taking in 4 or 5. And they also provide that if an athlete is on athletic scholarship, that you have to provide that if they can come back at any time, and it does not matter if it takes them 10 years to graduate, you have to give them that opportunity, and they don't have to pay for it. So yes, they did implement rules that help, and the literacy rate, the illiterate rate of athletes, especially Black athletes, coming out of college has dropped significantly. In fact, it's very hard to find athletes or Black athletes that aren't literate. Now, you will find a lot of them where they don't know about the financial, they may not know about investments, they may not know about economics, which I think is where there should be a greater emphasis on.
Is he still there?
You still there, Matt?
I think I heard him. Well, I think to Ezekiel's point, though, my brother Dwayne, the one that's in the middle of us, he was a college baseball player. He thought he was going to go pro as a pitcher, and he was in college and he graduated. We were not concerned about him graduating, but it's because he was taking classes like basket weaving. Right. There was nothing, he was taking more than one class that did not require him to be challenged intellectually or academically so that he would have the grade point average, so that he would graduate. And so when it got closer to the time for him to graduate, and we realized that he was not going to go pro. Again, what's your plan? You're not going to go pro. So then he was going to become a coach. And so he has to take some education classes. So both of us, now he's 2 years, he was 3 grades ahead of me. He started taking the, what did we call the NTE? He started taking it 3 years before I did, because I came behind him, maybe 2 years before I did. And I almost graduated before he did, because I was right on his heels to graduate, because it took him so long, because he did not have the skills, because his whole life he was thinking all I need, he started out with T-ball. A lot of people do that. And so when Ezekiel says, well, what's the literacy rate? That's different from the graduation rate. Graduation rate says, okay, this many people graduated, they received a degree. Literacy rate says, how skilled are they with reading and math and science and all of those things. So I think that we should really nail that down. Like, what are you saying? How many people graduate, or how many people are literate?
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I'll be honest with you, as a college basketball player, the one thing that my body didn't feel out until I went to the Army. I spent some years in the Army, and in the Army, my body started to fill out through exercise and different things. I started to mature with my body. So when I went to college, I had it in my mind that I was gonna, go pro. And even if I didn't go pro, I would be able to play overseas. I was gonna play professional somewhere. And so my problem was that when I started college and I gave them, I had to get my high school transcript. And I'll be straight up with you. I graduated with a 189 grade point average.
From high school?
High school, a D average.
That's a D. That sound like an F to me.
That's a D. That's a D.
I don't think that's no D. But go ahead.
It's a D. It's a D.
It's a 1.8.
Because a 2 is a C.
Okay, keep on.
Yeah. And so when they saw my transcript, they said, well, you have to take requirements, English 101, math, things like that. But we're going to put you in some classes that will keep you eligible. So I took music appreciation, I took humanities and some other stuff, and because that was my mindset. Okay, as long as I can stay eligible, I can stay in college.
And did you have, my brother also had people that would write his papers for him?
Nobody. I did that now.
I'm saying, but those kinds of tactics were happening on the campus.
Yeah, those type of tactics was happening on campus. What flipped me around in college was that I started taking, once I got through, and it was difficult getting through my requirements, I started taking courses that I liked. And because I liked them, I was engaged in them. And so, I graduated college with a 3.5, and it just made me think, wow. And that's what we talked about with high school. What if they had courses in high school that resonated with me? I know you have to take English and math, but what if they had courses that resonated with me in high school that would have kept me engaged?
Or what if they had teachers who were concerned about you, who wanted to be in relationship with you as a student, and who were willing to engage you in whatever it is? Some of the teachers, especially when we start talking about race, you don't even care what happens with the students. So yeah, it's a lot that we could be working on to make sure that this happens. And I just feel like I'm really worried. Like, I'm glad that the athletes are going to be paid, but I'm glad also that I'm no longer a public school teacher, because I could see how this would be a huge impediment for those of us who teach the skills that the students need to survive beyond athleticism.
Hey, we out of what time went by fast today. It was a great conversation. I love both sides of it. You know what? We'll do a part 2 with this next week, because I think there's so much more to delve into, especially on the academic side, the literary side. And I'm gonna do some research to find out how are there any other things they're going to implement to ensure that just because this money is being paid out, our students still getting the correct resources they need.
Yeah, and I'll work on the literacy versus graduation rate.
Okay, so just want to thank you. Hey, remember, there's a lot of stuff going on Saturday. Please take advantage of some of this. So tune in Monday from 4 to 5 for Down with That with me and Neil. Next Tuesday for Community Voices with the Reverend Dr. Denise, Donnell, and me. Next Thursday for the Workplace with me and Denise. Enjoy the rest of the day.